On China's achievements and efforts on clean energy, let's bring in Yin Haitao, a professor at the Antai College of Economics and Management of the Shanghai Jiao Tong University. Professor Yin, great to have you on the show. We start by asking you, what are the new trends that we are seeing in renewable energy development here in China?
Thank you very much. I think there are two things that are going to happen in the future, sort of new trend. The first one is we are going to see a very strong growth of renewable investment in China in the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, we already set up a pretty ambitious goal for renewable development. According to the government documents, by 2030, more than 25% of the energy need in China should be fulfilled by renewable energy, by non-fossil fuels. And more particularly, the generation capacity from solar farms or wind farms is going to reach 1.2 billion kilowatt. So in the next 5 to 10 years, we are going to see a stronger growth of renewable investment. That is the first trend we are going to observe. The second one is we are going to see, in the last few years, if you ask what's the most important challenge for renewable development, you are going to get an answer, that's very expensive. But nowadays, renewable energy is cheap. So in the future, we have to make sure the electricity generated from the solar farm, wind farm, can actually be used by the industrial users or residential users. So in other words, what's more important in the future is to make sure we can integrate the renewable energy into the national grid. Thank you.
That's interesting. And what role do you think renewable energy development play in ensuring energy security, and how effective is it in solving energy shortages?
I think the role that renewable energy can play is crazily critical. It's very, very critical. Why do I say that? China is not very rich in energy conservation. We don't have much oil, we don't have much natural gas. If we look at the data, right? So for petroleum oil, about 70% of the petroleum oil that are consumed in China are imported from other countries. If we look at the natural gas, the percentage is between 40% to 50%. That's a critical challenge for China's energy security. So in the future, if we want to get rid of our reliance on international importation of petroleum oil and natural gas, we don't have many choices on the table, right? So if we look at the coal, we have some coals in China, but coal, if we use more coals, we are going to have a concern for global warming, for carbon emission. So basically the only feasible, technologically feasible and commercially viable solution for the time being is renewable energy. So I think the rapid development of renewable energy is very critical to solve the energy shortage issue in China in the near future.
And also,
thank you.
Professor Yin, so when we talk about this, maybe the hardest thing that everyone can think of is how to balance, in between economic growth, environment conservation, and energy security, especially this is a time when the world is now faced with energy shortages. So what are the key points that policymakers must take into consideration to achieve these goals?
Yeah, I fully agree with you. It's very important to achieve social development, energy security, environmental protection, and economic growth at the same time. It's a critical challenge for human society. That is why we emphasize sustainable development so heavily in the last 10 years, I think many years into the future. It is very difficult. But But I think everybody agree, and that is the future everybody desires. So we have to make efforts. So if you ask me what's the answer to this challenge, I think the key word is innovation. We not only for technology innovation, but also innovations of business models. If we look at the new technology, for example, electric cars, and also the PV industry, in the last 10 years, the cost decreased easily, rapidly. That is a result of innovation. So I have a trust if we unite together to more innovations on technology, on business models, we are going to have a sustainable future.
Professor Yin, finally, in China's 14th five-year plan, the country has vowed to make some quick progress and also to achieve quality development in the renewable energy industry. What do you think could be the key achievements in this regard?
So so for that question, I think I have to get back to one point I mentioned earlier. That is the critical challenge in the next few years is to integrate the renewable generation into the national grid. And for that purpose, we have to do innovation. The first innovation is going to be technological innovation. So in order to make sure the large-scale integration of renewable energy, we have to rely on technology innovation. For example, energy storage, so smart grid technology and hydrogen technology, etc. We also have to do some innovation on the market trading system, how we trade electricity on the grid system. And the second one will be we have to do innovation on business models. So and recently we see a new trend. We focus on distributed renewable generation instead of large-scale concentrated renewable generation. And we are going to combine renewable generation with livestock farming, fishery industry, and many more. So if we can do this, I think those two new directions, technological innovation and business model innovation, is going to make sure we are going to have a high quality of renewable development in the future.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. That's all time we have for today. That's Professor Yin Haitao from the Antai College of Economics and Management at Shanghai Jiao Tong University.